in the big story from the NBA last night. LeBron James passing Michael Jordan, 4th place on the all-time scoring list. He accomplished it with an and one layup midway through the second quarter of a game against the Nuggets. Here was more from LeBron on the emotion of passing his childhood hero.
I would have ever imagined this. You just don't make it out. You just don't make it out where I come from, and to see me and my best friends growing up, to see all the success we've had in our own respective lives, with the possibility of us never ever being able to make it out, and to know that I'm linked with, some of the greatest that ever played this game, man. It was just, very emotional for me. Like I said, MJ was everything. MJ was everything for me growing up as a kid.
So LeBron James might go down as the league's all-time leading scorer when it's all said and done. If he keeps up this current pace, he would pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to be #1 224 games from now, which would be midway through the 21-22 season if he didn't miss any games. That would be his age 37 season, his 19th in the league. He also got some congratulations from former teammates Channing Frye and our friend Richard Jefferson. I think you'll enjoy this.
He was a huge ball hog. He never passed the ball. Right on.
Why don't you try and pass like the all-time assist leaders? Why don't you try and pass John Stockton instead of trying to pass
Come
Kareem?
up off the rock, buddy.
How about
dribbling
that?
the air out.
Can you do that? How about that?
It's ridiculous.
Please.
It took him long enough. What is this, 19 years?
It took him years.
Years.
Gosh,
Shooting?
If I kept playing, I would have passed people too.
Yeah. If I just shot 14, 15 times a game.
Wow, God.
It was crazy.
What have you done?
Yeah. Anyways, congrats, man. You deserve it.
You suck. A better guy.
Yeah. You owe me about
except for me or him.
Okay, that's pretty good. Meanwhile, we had a little trivia. Come on, guys. LeBron passed 3 players on the all-time scoring list this season. Was Tim Duncan one of them? Was Hakeem one of them? Was Dirk one of them? Only one of those 3 is accurate. What do you think?
You want to go first?
You go first.
C. Dirk.
I would go Dirk Nowitzki as well.
They both got it right. It is indeed Dirk Nowitzki.
Okay.
He passed Dirk for 6th on the all-time list in the Lakers' 6th game of the year. By the way, Duncan is a 14th all-time. Elijah Wan 11th on the all-time score.
We're going to call you Himbo's fill-in until you get one right.
A really good NBA Friday doubleheader. Sixers taking on James Harden and the Rockets at 8 Eastern. Then the top 2 teams in the West, Nuggets and Warriors. That's this Friday night. Coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern. It's on ESPN and on the ESPN app.
Y'all come here every day, ask me about free agency, ask my teammates, my coaches. You rile up the fans about it. Y'all let us play basketball.
I spent the last 8 years trying to do what everybody else wanted me to do. I don't owe anybody shit. I didn't really come into this game to be cameras in my face. It's a little hard for me.
Well, what did I do? Was it right or wrong?
Are you surprised by how much reaction it generated?
Anything I say would generate something.
I just don't trust none of y'all. Who are you? Why do I got to talk to you?
It's been a season where we've seen a lot of star players, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and others, be very short when going through media sessions. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was at the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference at MIT last week, talking about how players sometimes seem truly unhappy. Charles Barkley reacted on our show yesterday.
I think that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard Adam say. And listen, he's a great guy, but that's the stupidest thing I might have ever heard of any commissioner say. Listen, Greeny, these guys are making $20, $30, $40 million a year. They work 6-7 months a year. We stay at the best hotels in the world. They ain't got no problems. That's total bogus. And let me tell you something else. Kyrie Irving, I don't know him that well. He seems like a good kid. But I've never seen a person so miserable, to have so much success, to have the world in the palm of his hand. He's going to make $40, $50 million a year for the next 10, 15 years. He's already won a world championship. He's in the movies. But he's got to be one of the most miserable people I've ever seen. He wanted to go to Boston because he wanted to have his own team. And what a lot of these guys don't understand is when you're a star, and I've been a star, you get all the credit, but you get all the blame. That ain't right. That ain't fair. That's just how it is. That's the way this whole thing works. You know, nobody runs to Jalen Brown or the Morris brothers or Gordon Hayward. They going to come to Kyrie Irving after every game. That's the responsibility with being a great player, being a star.
That was a portion of our conversation with Charles Barkley yesterday, and it was obviously extraordinarily interesting and got a lot of different reaction. I know, Jay Will, you had a little different sort of reaction.
I did. Let me clarify. First off, this is not about the Kyrie Irving statements. This is about his initial statement about what he said about Adam Silver and the stupidest things he's ever seen. I fervently disagree. And there are times that Charles Barkley can say things on TV and he's Teflon Don. I get it. Doesn't matter what he says, but he is wrong on that one. Adam Silver was talking about anxiety and depression. And you just don't, I feel like it's an older generation thing where they equate happiness to the amount of money that you make. Look, people all have internal struggles. And what happens with that is when he says things like that, that automatically challenges people opening up to talk about some of the things that is, driving them to whatever those issues are in their life. And that forces people to shut down. So instead of just attacking people by saying, hey, you have no problems in the world, you don't walk in their shoes. You may have made money, you may have been a superstar, but you don't walk in the shoes of those individuals. You weren't raised in the age of social media. You don't know how that can affect you and how you're raised with that. So show empathy towards that, and let's help these people that are openly saying, I have issues, instead of attacking them. I get pissed off about that. Because I went through something drastic in my life, and I deal with it all the time. And those kind of people that say things like that, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just talking.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
There's two different arguments there.
Yes, I saw some of that reaction, and it feels to me like we're really having two different conversations. There is a conversation to be had about people who suffer from legitimate things like depression. I've mentioned many times I do. 30 years now I've been dealing with that. That's one thing. Talking about people generally being kind of cranky and whatnot is an entirely different conversation. That was the conversation I thought that we were having yesterday. And, Adam Silver, I don't know exactly what the context of it was. What did you make of it all, Ryan?
Silver's great. I mean, Silver, it's hard to have the approval rating as a commissioner that Silver has. So I think part of this is him always being sympathetic, always willing to listen. So I don't have a counter to anything that you said. But if we do talk about just the superstars in this league, it is a developing thing here where I don't know if it's about stuff that's going on in their personal lives, because I don't know these guys, and I've never want to assume anything, especially on a TV show. But if you're talking about just basketball, this is different now. Some of the top players in this league are constantly miserable about their plot with their team, and I don't understand if it's just everybody expects to win. Everybody feels greater pressure. Hey, I want to be the alpha, but I don't want to be by myself. Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm the alpha, and now I can't beat anybody, so now I got to bounce from here. This is a new thing. And to talking about it, I just wonder what the tipping point is for if you're a fan of a team and you go, oh, great, my favorite player is mad, and now he wants to leave now, because that's what's happened the last few years.
The new era has created this, and I totally agree with what you're saying, Jay Will, but when you think about general public, when you think about media and us sitting on this show and people having conversations in the outside world, they are strictly talking about basketball. And when they see Kyrie Irving or when they see LeBron James or Kevin Durant get in front of a press conference or news media and talk about how much they hate the media, they don't equate that to internal issues. They equate that to a disgruntled player. We all been there. We've been there. Even in college, when I was playing in the pros, we had guys in the locker room that didn't want to talk. Marshawn Lynch never wanted to talk to the media. People didn't internalize it.
Was he unhappy, though? Or was he just...
That's my thing. People equated that to Marshawn Lynch being mad at the media. That is what we're going to do until you feel comfortable enough. And I'm not saying it's these guys' responsibility to tell us what's going on in their personal lives. But if you're not transparent to that, and we see you all the time in a basketball setting versus the media, that's the conversation that we're going to have. And I think that's what Charles Barkley was getting at, more so than talking about the internal things that guys deal with, because that's a real thing, and that's a different conversation.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things to unpack, and I'm with you, Jay, on the anxiety and depression. We're not going to dismiss that in anyone's life in any way, shape, or form. With that being said, there's a couple of different types of media that I think get overlapped in this same conversation. There's social media that you can block out, okay? These players aren't talking about social media, okay? They're talking about the sports media. And the only time they have to deal with the sports media is before practice or after practice, before a game or after a game. It's not like the paparazzi, like TMZ, is looking for the aha got you moments when these guys are at those pressers.
Jay Rose.
And we all, one other thing.
I got you.
We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we all know from where the media is going to ask us about. Just like you know if Kevin Hart gets into an argument with somebody, he already know a short joke is coming. So he's ready for that. When you go in front of the media, you already know what they're going to ask you. You should be ready for that. Or you got the kind of means to actually pay for media training. Or you can say no comment if you choose to. That's different to me from actually just being unhappy.
I hear 100% what you're saying, but you're talking to me from J. Rose now, the guy who's been through the gauntlet before. I remember when you got traded from Indy to Chicago. Like, I was a rookie. Like, that was a different situation for you because of what happened with Isaiah Thomas. That was a younger Jalen Rose. Did you handle that exactly the way you would have handled that now, Jay?
That year, I won Magic Johnson Leadership Media Award for the NBA. That year.
Okay.
Here's the deal, too.
Well,
go ahead.
I know you want it. I'm saying.
So we're talking about guys who haven't quite walked in these shoes yet. So I actually, just over the last few days, polled some college basketball players who are stars, who will be in the NBA soon. And these are some of the things that they said just specifically about Kyrie Irving. One said, I would trade places with Kyrie at any moment. I'm a fan of his, but don't get his attitude right now. Another guy said, I'm wearing Kyrie's shoes right now. The dude doesn't have anything to be mad about. Come on. And then another guy said, I think NBA players are paying way too much attention to social media, and it's weird. So these are coming from some college basketball stars right now who this will be their future. This is how they're looking at somebody who maybe they looked up to previously.
This is my issue. And it goes back to what you were saying, Jalen. You are what they want to see. You control the narrative. The ability for somebody to get to you and make you respond like a lot of these guys are is weakness by you personally. And I'm talking about media. I'm not talking about the conversation that we were having about depression and anxiety. I'm not talking about that. I was told early in my career when I was with the Dallas Cowboys by Rich Dalrymple, Marcus, they want to talk to you. They want to know what you want to say. No media person can get you to say anything that you don't want to disperse to the general public and to them. So I think a lot of times, and that goes in the media training for these guys, man, it's too personal. That's the problem with them. It's too personal for them.
But
they got personal.
That's how you're supposed to take sports, though, right? Everything becomes personal.
They don't work with you. Those are not your teammates.
And I'm not condoning it. All I'm saying is that's how you end up living your life as an athlete. Like, you have a bulletin board. Oh, this guy said that to me. I'm gonna give him 40 next time I play against him. Oh, this guy tried to say this against me in the media. I ain't gonna talk to him next time. That's just naturally the culture in which you're built as an athlete competitively. And also, I'm not saying it's right.
And also, what I've seen happen is when people become stars so very young, and this happens in Hollywood, a lot of those times those people grow up to be bitter adults. Yeah. So a lot of these young players have been stars for so very long in high school, the AAU circuit, recruited to college, and now you get to the NBA, you're like, oh, I'm so tired of this, but you're only 24 years old. That has an effect on how these people talk to the media. But one other thing I got to make sure I say.
Yeah.
A lot of times people say, like, they would say to us, like, oh, you don't know what it's like to be Kyrie because you're not a superstar like him. What ends up happening is this. Social media, if you don't like what somebody says, you don't want to take it personal, you just block them. That ain't being weak. You just block them. I'm going to mute you. You can do the exact same thing with the regular media when you're talking to them only 10 minutes a day.
All right, I have to run on that thought. We will have more on this as we go. Obviously, it's a topic that everyone has a lot of strong feelings about. Let me remind you about SportsCenter tonight, 6 Eastern, after PTI, Sage and Kevin. The latest on the Antonio Brown trade talk. Stephen A. with his take on what LeBron has left to prove this season and how former Bama quarterback Jalen Hurts will do replacing Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. SportsCenter, 6 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.